Hello, everyone. My name is Joseph Jacob Charles. I am an accounting technology student at Valencia College. As part of an assignment for an English composition class, we will be discussing Act 1 of the revenge tragedy Hamlet, written by William Shakespeare in the early 17th century. In this video, I am not alone. On this platform with me, I am joined by a fellow student named Christine EGAN. Hello, Christine. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fine, Christine. Could you introduce yourself to our audience, please?
Okay, my name is Christine Egan. I am a general education student at Valencia in my first year. I am having a lot of fun and I am enjoying myself, and I look forward to the future.
Thank you, Christine, for introducing yourself to the audience. Indeed, as I mentioned it at the beginning, we will be discussing Act 1 of this revenge tragedy, Hamlet. Our goal in this discussion is to understand what happened in the first part of the tragedy in order to draw some moral lessons for our time. Let's begin by summarizing this act. So, Act 1. Act 1 of Hamlet plunges us into a dark and mysterious atmosphere at Elsinore Castle in Denmark. Gods spoke in apparition. The ghost of the deceased king alerted Prince Hamlet, goes to meet him and discovers that this specter is indeed the spirit of his father. The ghost reveals a terrible secret. He was murdered by his own brother, Claudius, who then married Queen Gertrude and took his crown. Devastated, Hamlet vows to avenge his father's death, but decided to conceal his intentions by feigning madness. Meanwhile, at court, Claudius tries to consolidate his power. Gertrude worries about her son, and Polonius, the king's advisor, sends his son Lydis to France. The act ends with Hamlet alone, determined to fulfill his mission, even if it leads him to madness and despair. As I mentioned in the introduction, our goal in this presentation is to understand what happened in the first part of the tragedy in order to draw some moral lessons for our time. Therefore, I will analyze with you five literary questions with you. Then question my fellow will address formal with us. Starting by the first question. My first question. What are the major highlights of the act? The major highlights of the act one of Hamlet introduce the key elements of the drama and lay the foundation for the central conflict. The appearance of the ghost of the dead king to the gods and later to Hamlet is the inciting event. The ghost revealed that he was murdered by his own brother, Claudius, who now wears the crown and has married Queen Gertrude. This shocking revelation drives Hamlet to swear revenge. Meanwhile, Polonius and Laertes warm Ophelia against Hamlet's love, believing it to be dangerous and fleeting. By the end of the act, Hamlet, deeply shaken, resolved to feign madness to conceal his intentions and uncover the truth about his father's death. What are some the themes revealed? Several themes revealed in this act, in the act one, are revenge, moral and political corruption, appearance versus reality, and filial duty. Shakespeare also explores ideas of fate and free will. Hamlet, torn between his filial loyalty and his moral conscience, embodies the inner conflict of a tragic hero. The kingdom of Denmark, diseased by lies and ambition, serves as a metaphor for a world where truth and morality have decayed beneath appearance. But in the text exemplifies the themes. Many passages vividly illustrate these themes. The God's command, revenge is foul in most unnatural murder, captures the theme of revenge and divine justice. Marcellus' line, something is rotten. Yes, something is rotten in the state of Denmark, symbolize the moral and political decay inflicting the kingdom. The tension between appearance and reality is shown in Claudius' hypocrisy and in Hamlet's plan to put an anti-disposition on. These examples show that deceit and corruption have corrupted truth, leaving characters to question what is real. What's the most vivid image one might take away from the essay? The most vivid image is that of King Hamlet's ghost, armed in majesty, appearing in the dark night to reveal the truth to his son. The scene, but terrifying and sorrowful, captures the mystery and tragedy of the play. The ghost embodies the voice of the past, the memory of the crime, and the call for justice. It's an unforgettable image that forces the supernatural and the moral, marking the emotional and symbolic core of the drama. What was the major complication, problem in the act, and how do we think it will be resolved? The major complication in act is the revelation of King Hamlet's murder and the moral dilemma faced by Prince Hamlet. He must decide whether to obey to the god's demand for revenge or heed his own conscience. Torn between action and hesitation, Hamlet chose to pretend to be mad in order to investigate Claudius without suspicion. The resolution will likely unfold through Hamlet's quest for proof and justice. To the hands that his pursuit of vengeance will bring both truth and tragedy. Let us now turn to the other questions with Christine. Christine, will you continue for us, please, with the other questions about what imagery does the author use to keep the play act interesting? Mm-hmm. What techniques does the author use to help a general reader audience relate to the essay? Third, what kind of descriptive language stands out? And fourth, what's the most vivid image one might take away from the essay? Go ahead, Christine.
Okay. So what image does the author use to keep the play/act interesting? Shakespeare keeps Act 1 interesting by establishing an atmosphere of foreboding and suspense. He accomplishes this with two forms of imagery, the dark, eerie setting and metaphors of disease and decay. Shakespeare uses visual and palpable imagery to set a chilling stage. The author created an unsettling environment. The addition of the dead king's ghost generates an eerie, suspenseful setting that hooks the audience. The cold and darkness of the embattlements capture the moral disintegration and the secretive, horrendous deed of regicide that has afflicted the kingdom. The act contained a number of references to disease and decay that serve as metaphors for moral and political corruption. The act of poisoning King Hamlet is detailed in grotesque and repulsive terms, the venom described as a, quote, leprous distilment. Act 1, Scene 5, line 71. Laertes warns Ophelia against becoming involved with Prince Hamlet. She compares the relationship with Hamlet to an open canker sore that spreads and destroys its victims. The moral decay that is afflicting the royal house is epitomized by Marcellus' statement that, quote, something is rotten in the state of Denmark. Act 1, Scene 4, line 100. Uh, what techniques does the author use to help a general reader slash audience relate to the essay? Shakespeare helps the audience relate to Hamlet through several key techniques. His use of soliloquies gives readers and viewers direct access to Hamlet's private thoughts and emotions, especially his grief over his father's death and his anger at his mother's remarriage. These feelings are universal human experiences, allowing audiences to empathize with his turmoil. Shakespeare also blends elements of tragedy and suspense, framing the story almost like a 16th century murder mystery. The appearance of the ghost heightens the tension and stirs both curiosity and fear, emotions that keep audiences engaged. Together, these techniques make Hamlet's personal struggles and the unfolding mystery both emotionally and psychologically relatable. And, the play is written for what type of audience? The Shakespeare's play is written in a way that appeals to both the commoner and elite class of the Elizabethan society. The use of ghosts provides a sense of thrill and drama for a largely superstitious common class, while such things as philosophical soliloquies appeal to the well-educated and elite class in the audience. Uh, let's see. What kind of descriptive language stands out? Uh, the descriptive language in Hamlet Act 1 stands out for its raw intensity, dramatic contrast, and pervasive mood of dread, effectively hooking the audience into the play's central conflict. Hamlet expresses the intensity of his grief and sadness with his situation when he states, oh, that this too sullied flesh would melt, thaw and resolve itself into a dew. Act 1, Scene 2, lines 133 to 134. Shakespeare feels that the truth will always be revealed when, at the end of Act 1, Scene 2, Hamlet states, foul deeds will rise, though all the earth overwhelm them, to men's eyes. Act 1, Scene 2, lines 279 to 281. Shakespeare uses religious imagery throughout the play. The ghost laments that he has not been confined that he has been confined to purgatory and must await purification of his soul before he can enter heaven. Quote, doomed for a certain term to walk the night, and for the day confined to fasted fires till the foul crime done in my days of nature are burnt and purged away. Act 1, Scene 5, lines 15 to 18. The ghost expresses concern about his salvation due to the fact that he did not receive his last rites before dying. It should be noted that purgatory, last rites, and Holy Communion are core beliefs of the Catholic religion. The Protestant Reformation was taking hold in England during Shakespeare's time. The making reference to Catholic beliefs at the time Hamlet was written would have been quite controversial to a largely Protestant audience.
Good job, Christine. We are now in the conclusion of the presentation. In conclusion, we can say at Act 1 of Hamlet lays the foundations for a universal drama, that of a man confronted with corruptions, lies, and the duty of justice. Through the tormented gaze of the prince, Shakespeare questions us about the fragile boundary between truth and appearance, loyalty and betrayal, reason and madness. We can say also this first act dominated by the figure of the ghost reminds us that the past never truly dies until the truth is revealed. Even today, Hamlet invites us to reflect on our own relationship to truth and morality. Should we act to denounce injustice? Or should we act to remain silent to preserve peace? The play teaches us that fleeing the truth only feeds the world's corruption, and that despite doubt and fear, lucidity and courage remain the only paths to justice and redemption. Thank you, Christine, for being available to join us. I don't know if you have something else to say to our audience.
Uh, I enjoy reading Hamlet, and I'm excited to find out what happens from here on out.
Okay. Thank you again, Christine. It was a pleasure to have you on the platform. Say hello to all of you, and everyone, goodbye. See you next time for another presentation.